lot of people say, boy, oh boy, if it's a bear market, it's got to get a lot lower. And oh, by the way, a bear market can destroy my entire retirement. Well, that's actually pretty ridiculous if you stop and think about it. On June 13th, we officially entered a bear market by closing below 20% off the highs in January. In that, a lot of people say, boy, oh boy, if it's a bear market, it's got to get a lot lower. And oh, by the way, a bear market can destroy my entire retirement. Well, that's actually pretty ridiculous if you stop and think about it. You, agreed, cannot control stocks. You cannot control where they go. You can control yourself. And yourself is about all you can control. In that, the long-term history of the stock market includes all bear markets ever. There have been a few very long ones, but only a few, ever. Mostly, compared to your retirement, they're not very long. A year to two at the most. Some of them shorter. Yes, some of them longer. But even there, as long as you control yourself, your expenses, and your propensity to want to sell out at the bottom, there's no irreparable harm. It's the feature that people don't think through, which is that the volatility of stocks, which includes the negative volatility that they dislike, coupled with the positive volatility that comes on the other side of a decline, of a big decline. That volatility is exactly central in economic theory to why stocks have that long-term superior return. The fact is, we have a very long history of stocks. We have a very long history. And in that, there has always been this notion that one big bear and I'm done. And it's never been true. Never. And it's paralleled to another thought that I wrote about in my book, Debunkery, where this was the 8th debunk that I did. And I actually brought the book with me to show you some of it. But in this one, a central argument has always been that tied to this feature, that feature, the other feature, it's not going to be the way in the future that it's been in the past. Capitalism will not be able to overcome the problems that we've had. It could be because of socio-political or other features. But in reality, that view is not new. And in reality, that view has always been wrong. And will be wrong now. The power of capitalism to create new, better, improved, and to maneuver around the problems that we have with a little bit of time is simply awe-inspiring in terms of the material well-being of human beings, is the most blessed thing that's ever occurred to humans. So I want to read to you briefly. Remember, the future includes, as of yet, unimagined earnings from currently unfathomed products and services born of boundless human ingenuity, innovation, and desires from years to come, not yet conceived. Always been that way. Forever people have been moaning about stocks being too high and capitalism done. Fine, but every single time they've been proven wrong. If you're betting with long-term capital, I suggest you bet on the side of it and not betting against it. If any different this time, despite it always feeling different, and the media always giving you countless reasons for why it is now and will be different, it isn't. Just think in the last 20 years, how many things you see and have that did not exist before, whether it's delivery systems to your house with food, whether it's Zoom meetings that you had during COVID, whether it's what's on your smartphone. In so many ways, even though you might have had a cell phone 20 years ago, they're pretty primitive compared to what you have today. The ability to keep coming up with new, different, and better and the beneficiaries of those often being firms that had nothing to do with their creation, but their utilization of them to do something else for consumers, is simply awe-inspiring. Often the popular conclusion is that social and political trends will overwhelm capitalism. That isn't a new view. Now that argument is also pretty common right here, right now in 2022. There's a big portion of our investor world that thinks that, boy, oh boy, capitalism is under assault like it's never been before. And, they kind of miss notions of things that have happened in our country and in other countries in the past, whether it would be in the 30s or Yet, not always, but almost always in democratic nations globally, capitalism has ended up more powerful than politicians, social trends, and temporary political will, and wins out in the end. So I just want you, this is chapter 8 of my book, Debunkery, but I think it's important to note that the fact is that bear markets aren't that long. The bounce back is usually not perfectly so, but relatively V-shaped compared to the prior decline. The fact is that the tendency is always to think it's different. But in reality, while it's always a little different, it's never so much different to motivate you to a conclusion that says one big bear and you're done. It isn't true. It hasn't been true. And I absolutely believe that it will not be true. Thank you for listening to me. I very much hope you enjoyed this video as part of my series on debunking common market myths. To watch more videos like this, click the link on the screen and make sure to subscribe to Fisher Investments' YouTube channel. Thanks so much for listening to me.